potentials are alive as never before. They no longer make me ignore. I embrace you, setting me free. Way back in 70. Oh,
There's a freedom.
I think of all the promises fulfilled in 70 AD. Oh, my, hallelujah.
Shalom, and welcome to another exciting episode of Apostles. At the gate, scripture teaches us that it is a needed gift to have experienced and seasoned apostles with the fruit of the Spirit and kingdom results available to the people of Yahuwah Most High. Our podcast offers spiritual guidance, insight, accountability, along with structure and discipleship to those that want to grow in their kingdom calling. The Apostles of the Alliance of Remnant Ministries, with over 75 years of service to King Yahusha, now offer themselves weekly to your service as well, as you grow in grace and Torah in the way our Messiah Yahusha lived and taught. Now let's join Apostle Peter Michael Martinez and Dr. Shaliak, Apostle Moshe Yosef Konichowski at the front eastern gate for another time in the wisdom of the elders of Yashua.
Amen, amen,
I
amen.
love that intro, man. Gets me excited. I'm all pumped up now.
You didn't like
Who
it
are
at
these
first.
guys? Who are these
No.
guys, and can we hang out with them?
You didn't like it at first. You said, "What's that?"
Well, I there are parts of it that that for me, I'm a perfectionist, right? So
It grew on. Maybe it grew on you. I
it
guess.
grew on me a little bit, is what happened. See, that's what
Yeah. If you hear something long enough, it's kind of like relationships.
that's right.
What
That's
happened
right.
last week? We had to take a week off to breathe. Is that we had a little? breather?
No, actually, I had I got a lot on my plate that that goes on besides obviously ministry, and
You mean your world doesn't revolve around me?
yeah,
What kind of
as
what
much
kind
as
of-
I love you, and
Wait a
as much
second.
as
What
I
kind of
adore
relationship?
you, my
No,
brother.
no. What kind of relationship is this, man?
No,
Is
there
your
were
world supposed to revolve around me?
there were some there's some very, very important things that unfortunately conflicted, and whenever that it's rare. We haven't had that happen in 60 something episodes, so we've actually done pretty well at not having anything conflict.
There was 1 week I had to do an episode on the road in a hotel, if you remember.
Yes, I think
There
if
was one episode.
remember there was like one time, so that tells you that we don't do that lightly. So thank you, folks, for your grace. Last week we had some major challenges that we were dealing with here, and things that we had to get organized for what's upcoming, and it got to the point where I realized I needed to spend this time, and so that is the result. And I believe that's also a good example because we always have to prioritize. And one of the main priorities we have is the next generation. And so what I was dealing with was some very serious things that had come up that unfortunately required my attention. So thank you all for your grace. And I'm back. Let's talk.
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
one thing about that intro that I want to point out is you in that intro, it says accountability, structure,
Results.
these are the things that make the difference, guys, is having people in your life, not to be mean to you, right? Or boss you around. None of that. Just to be in your life to say, hey, how did it go?
Yeah, but to a wounded spirit, it'll always come across as being harsh and controlling. If a person is wounded and they have daddy issues and they have trust issues, no matter how nice you are or how much you want to give them simply firm direction, it'll come across, and a lot of times they'll divorce you because that's the way they receive it because of their woundedness.
Listen, we have some very wounded
And that's
people
sad. That's very
in
sad.
our country. Yes, we do. We have some very serious
In the
um,
kingdom. In the kingdom.
abuses. Well, you know what I think about? I think about people that are coming out of bad. I mean, we grew up, you and I, we grew up around a lot of crazy family, non-family behavior. And people coming out of that a lot of times are shell shocked. Their experiences, they need to unpack a lot of the experiences. And unfortunately, we don't really often get a chance to do that. So we see only the results of whatever they've been through without having really the opportunity to slow it down. That's
But
where
the truth,
fellowship is so important. Family is so important.
but the truth of the matter is, I've seen as many or more uh, wounded people in their spirit that have daddy issues, they have trust issues in the kingdom than I see out of the kingdom. I'm just telling you what I've seen over the years. And you would think after 5 years or 4 years or 6 years, they'd start a healing process. But so what I'm trying to say is, in my experience, as gentle as I try to be, I have to be firm or they're without direction, right? They don't have any direction. It will come to a wounded person. Well, boy, this guy loves me enough to guide me, or this guy loves me enough to put me in the right direction, or to tell me to get into the assembly and to stop spending Shabbat at the horse show. Okay, that'll come across as harsh, and then they'll tell other people how harsh you are or how harsh I am, and it's warped. It's completely warped. It's sad because kingdom relationships should be in the process of being different and healing, progressive. Maybe not overnight, but progressively.
And there it is. That's the thing. Maybe not overnight, but we should be progressing, right? And so, what is our obligation as apostles at the gates and as overseers over a growing number of ministries and houses and locations is safety. After all, we are shepherds, and shepherds, their job is, of course, to keep the flock safe. And that sense of safety, that sense of security or sanctuary, very important for that person who needs to unpack.
But the battle over safety a lot of times is not reality. It's imagined.
Well, perception is reality. And so if someone
Mhm.
perceives something to be a threat, even if it isn't, the perception for them is their reality. This
So
is
they
why
need
the
to get.
scripture
They need
tells
to
us.
allow the Ruach to fix them. That's why it says
True.
the mind of Yahusha. In other
True.
words, we have the mind of Yahusha, and we need to put it on. That's part of the helmet of salvation, is to put on the mind of Yahusha. So
Said
in
the
other
man
words,
who's been walking with him for several decades, right? But the new person who's learning this, right? So you are seasoned in this what you just described, putting this first. You say it almost nonchalantly because you've been doing it for so long. But for the young, they need good examples of this. They need demonstration, and while they're getting that, they need safety.
I can walk into an assembly or in any congregation, including mine, and I can tell you if it's a safe place where everybody respects boundaries. And once the boundaries are made clear, it's a safe place. So but a wounded person and I don't want to focus on wounded people, but a wounded person could walk into a safe place and say, "I don't feel safe here," and then
Right.
start tail bearing and going up and down the people and sharing how they don't feel safe. When let's say 1,200 people have passed through those doors in the last 50 years, and everybody felt safe except 10.
Right, exactly. Right. So then you got to say, wait a second, you guys are the anomaly, not the norm. But at the same time, we also have to be sensitive to, again, perception, right? And so this is where I do believe we have, as apostles at the gates, we have to forsake even the appearance of evil, right? So even things that we would think, wow, there's no problem, but if it appears, and where's that appearance from? The perception of the beholder. So we have to be sensitive in culture. If I go to Australia, there may be things that are culturally different there than here in the United States, and vice versa. So we have to be sensitive to that because, after all, we're trying to be effective. We're
Right.
not trying to offend, right? So in
Right.
my culture where we grew up, you and I grew up, and I know this for a fact that people will get offended at some of our behavior because we grew up on the East Coast. And on the East Coast, there's a culture that comes with that. There's almost a brazenness. There's a directness. There's a cut to the chaseness, if you will, right? That kind of goes with the culture. Whereas as you move Midwest, you're going to run into more of that Minnesota nice and Missouri show me, and a little different, same country, same language, different cultural experience, and different points of offense where you can offend people. I've had offenses with people where they were offended maybe at the manner in which I speak instead of the depth of what I was speaking about.
Well, I can tell you this never happened to me, at least not in the last day.
What's that?
If you know what I mean.
Say that again.
People get offended the way I come across. That's never happened to me, except in the last day or two.
I was going to say, except in the last 15 minutes or something.
If you believe that, that old bridge in Brooklyn that's been sold 1 million times.
The Verrazano, man. Come on, man. I want a piece of that.
Don't mention that. I hate that bridge. You talking about the one that backs up the Bell Parkway?
Man, I don't know. I didn't even drive. I left New York at 17. Thank you, Mama. She got me out of there.
When I used to do Verrazano Narrows from Staten Island into Brooklyn, the Bell Parkway, into Queens, the Van Wyck Expressway. Oh,
see what he's describing is his personal torture.
Bad memories.
Right? Exactly. See,
bad memories.
bad memories. See, he's been traumatized. Okay, have some compassion for my brother. He's been traumatized. All right, and you have to be from there to have an appreciation for the level of trauma he's describing. You don't even know what he's talking about, right? Because you don't have a cultural context. The same way you might not have a cultural context for maybe a Californian who grew up a different way, right? And one of the things that I think we need to always be careful about, especially as we reach our arms out across cultures, as Paul did, as we see throughout the scripture, that we need to be sensitive not to offend unnecessarily. After all, there are immovable things in the kingdom, and then there are other areas where we have grace. We are not to cause our brother to stumble because of our liberties. Right. That's a great point in which many people do. But we were going to talk about Hosea chapter 8 because this is where you set the trumpet to your mouth. And this really, I believe, Sholiak, this speaks to our young people. It speaks to that next generation that is being raised up by Yahuwah, being filled with his Ruach, to set a trumpet to their mouth to say, what you're doing over here and here and here, we're not following that. We're going to follow Yahuwah. And I see this sort of thing growing, and I'm really excited about it.
When you say young, before we get to Hosea 8, when you say young, I'm thinking of like, you've got this program for 13 or 14-year-olds, but all I can tell you is when I think of young, I think of the young men and women in the ministry that I've trained that are all over the world, because you always talk about results. I mean, you hardly have a broadcast that goes by where you don't talk about results. And I'm thinking, well, I agree and I disagree. I'm like, I don't see the results, and I'm not accusing you of anything. I'm not saying, the results are medals or bitcoins or what we have in possessions. I see results as fruit. So, I'm working I'm working for the kind of results where young men and young women are leading congregations.
Yes.
They're evangelizing. In other words, a Johnny come lately who doesn't know anything about me or you or anybody else, when they see the fruit of my ministry, they get shut up. They may not get shut up literally, but mentally they have a breakdown, because you can argue against style, you can argue against approach, right. You cannot argue against fruit. Anywhere in this world go. Anywhere in this world you go, people study my teachings. They pass my teachings around. They build their families around my teachings. So my fruit is everywhere. To me, those are the results. I don't have to I'm not in 2026 searching for results. You know why? Because
Right.
my results go back decades, and praise be to Yahuwah that He's allowing me to continue to produce results. But I'm not
There it
trying
is.
to and I'm not trying to criticize you in any way. I'm saying I'm not seeking results. I've got the results, the
You don't
cachet.
seek results. Results are what happens as a result of your behavior, right? So
Right,
we don't
right. But
seek that.
I'm
We
not
just
pursuing
behave.
results,
We
and
just
and the
pursue our calling, and then the results will show.
and the results that I want to boast about are the souls, because
Yes.
the only thing we can take with us when we get into the New Jerusalem are the souls that we rescued. Like Proverbs
Right.
says, rescue those who are being led to the slaughter and to the destruction. That's the call of the evangelist and the apostle, to rescue those who are being led to the slaughter.
That's right.
So I mean, I hear what you're saying, and I know you're appealing to the body at large, but I'm very grateful that you and I can only speak for myself because I don't live in your body. My results are all over the world. You could take a map anywhere, and in India, in Pakistan. And people begged to join Yadi. Can I join? I said, nope, I don't know you from. Can you? Nope, I don't know you. My teachings are available on the internet. Avail yourself. I don't know you. I don't know your character. I'm not going to invest time in you. We got to get to know you, right? Like you say all the time, we got to build relationships.
I love that. And that's something that you have demonstrated with me. You took the time, and something that I have commented often. When people take the time to inquire, to ask questions off camera, nothing to do with cameras, nothing to do with people seeing you or pontificating. No, just privately taking the time and digging in and saying, "Hey, I want to get to know you. I want to know what's moving you, why you're doing what you're doing," and that's part of that accountability. That's part of the ecclesia, and this is how we are commanded to be, because He says to know those you labor amongst. So I don't know that there's a way to go around that. And unfortunately, what we have as a model is a lot looser. It's a lot more association, and you just meet for the meeting, and that's it. There's no real relationship. You know a lot of details about my personal life. I know a lot of details about your lives, because we've shared with each other. That's how we help one another. Not to and you mentioned talebearers and things like that. Look, my job is to put fires out. That's what a
Yeah,
peacemaker does. I'm not just a
absolutely.
peacekeeper. I'm a peacemaker. Okay,
That's
so
right.
when I see chaos, I don't pass it along. It'll die with me. That's where
And
it
let me
comes to
and let
die.
me add, and let me add something else. When a fivefold tells you, or those who work with a fivefold tell you to make shalom and to reconnect, you ought to
Hmm.
do it. It's for your own benefit, and you ignore that advice at your own peril. And
You
but
do.
it was just the receipts and the results. And put it this way, let me two things. If I had been talking about myself, because I can't talk for anybody else. If I had been laboring for 30, 40 years and I didn't have any results, I didn't have any receipts, I don't think Abba would have yoked us together. And frankly, that I would question anybody that's been laboring for 40 years without any result. I would question that. I mean, that would raise questions right away.
I will
How
go a little more radical than that.
yeah,
Unfortunately, you may not like my answer, but I'm going to be more radical. Mashiach didn't give 30 years. He gave one. He said, this tree, before you pull it up, we're going to dig and dung it and come back in 1 year. 1 year, he said.
it's true.
And I can't go around that. I just can't. I have
It's
I
true.
have to look at that and say, when he decides, okay, this tree's about to be plucked up, all right, it's about to be removed, and he says, give me 1 year. That's one big year. That's a
That's,
big year that you got to move from
that's a good
unfruitful.
point.
Watch this now. You got to move from so unfruitful
It's a
that the
good point.
Father was about to remove you. Okay, I just want you to process this thought, everybody.
That's a
You were
very good point.
so unfruitful that the Father was about to remove you. And then the Son says, give me 1 year.
In other words, he wants results
Right
pretty
now.
much as soon as you start laboring. Yeah, in the vineyard.
1
Yep.
year is not a lot of time to suddenly go from
And
unfruitful to fruitful. If you think that's slow, you don't
and
know
what
what
did
this is going to
and what
be.
did Yahushua say? He says, using the parable to relate to what Israel could painfully know, which is in Isaiah chapter 5. He says, what will the master of the vineyard do when they reject the son and kill the prophets? He will remove those tenants from the vineyard and give it. He's not going to give up on the vineyard. He's just going to get new tenants that will render the fruits in due season.
There you have it. And so it's like the job is eternal. The question is who's going to do it. Saul found out that he could be replaced. Saul found out, okay? And suddenly he was not so important. The king was not so important because he could be replaced. The mission was what mattered, right?
I'm
And
going to be
so-
replacing it within the next 15 years. How's that?
And we have
Because
to
I was looking up online life expectancy for males to survive to 80 is 45%. So 40 to 40.
What you get for listening to those guys. Our ancestors, I have one that walked up mountains till he was 174.
You have someone in your ancestry who lived
Of
to 100.
course. Abraham walked up the mountains until he was 174
Well, then
years old.
I need to be a Martinez. I don't know.
You got to walk up and down mountains, man. You can't be sitting at home. Okay.
Well, I work out 4 times a
couch
day.
will kill you. The couch will kill you. It's a
Speaking of
killer couch.
speaking of life expectancy, one word, and I don't want to get sidetracked, but one word, with Lindsey Graham, that is very sad. You've heard of that, right? Senator Lindsey Graham, right? Passed away.
Yeah.
And I was all over the place with him. I mean, for years, I thought he was great. Then I thought he went bonkers. But he's a very consequential,
Actor,
a very
little.
a very consequential figure. Let's put it that way. So it just kind of it kind of hit me,
Oh, I mourn with you, my brother. If you're mourning, he says,
I'm not mourning. He's very consequential. That's all.
All right. Well, let's talk about this setting the trumpet to your mouth. Let's get to this because this is really, in my mind, in my heart, really hitting. Right now, I see this, and I want to fan this flame because when I see young people catching the vision and asking, and this is the part that really gets me excited because I'm literally watching them, and they're asking hard questions, and they're digging in, and they're saying, where did you come up with this? Where did you come up with that? That's not what the scripture says. Here's what it says, mom and dad. And they're holding their adult parents and grandparents' feet to the fire and probably opening their esteem to do it, right? So, yeah, you bought this thing. Do you actually read it? Did you read this, mom? Right? And so what happens there? You're having a accountability level and a confrontation level that we're not controlling. We're not involved in. We're just standing on the sidelines, encouraging y'all to search out the truth.
May I ask you where you've seen that? Because I hear you mention that several times. Where have
I'm
we
seeing it in? I'm part of different groups on social media, and I keep an eye. I don't like to engage. I just like to watch. And as I see different postings and things that people are posting, okay, and the tenor, the change in the tenor. So I've been watching this for, 15, 20 years. And as it's progressed. And so what you're seeing is a change in content. This is the very thing that, the overseers of social media watch. They watch how fast certain content is rising, how much of it they're seeing. This is the matrix and the things that they look at. So when they're out of control, and then they're trying to suppress that, and they can't suppress it because more and more people are sharing his name, talking about Shabbat, talking about keeping commandments, asking the hard questions about results because they're not seeing the results in churchianity. They don't see the barakah. They don't see fruit. They're seeing a lot of walking in circles. And that doesn't appeal to people who are losing they're tearing down institutions like college is a big one that is now under the Charlie Kirk pressure was there all along. But it really crescendoed after his death because all of a sudden people are like, this entire exercise is all it does is put people in debt till they're 40, 50 years old, and it's useless. And that was a lot of his message, by the way. Charlie Kirk's message was dealing with the futility of
So you're seeing young people, but you're saying young people that are challenging their parents? Are you seeing that in
challenging
person or online? Are you seeing that in person?
challenging the belief systems
Right.
that the previous generations held on to without questioning.
But where are you seeing it is what I'm asking. Is it
On
online or in
social
person?
media is where I see it.
Not so
So
much in
that's-
person. Because
No, in person I see it a little less, because I have a very controlled circle for me.
well, that's
So
why I was asking.
I
Yeah.
don't involve myself a lot in. No, I'm just watching from a distance. I'm watching different elements that I've watched change. So if you watch the same things and it's very worldly and very there's nothing there, and then all of a sudden you start seeing Yahuwah's name, and you start seeing things like Shabbat, and it's getting more and more and more frequent. You note it because it's a difference over what it used to be. And I'm seeing a lot of churchianity, Christians. Some are even taking steps back, and even leaving the ministry, because I think the pressure is growing
Right.
to answer hard questions about results. Like
I
you
just
just
wanted
said.
I just wanted clarification where you were seeing it,
Mhm.
because on the Evangelist Corner and many other, I've heard you mention it. Let's see, somewhere around 7,400 times. So, so I just wanted clarification. Are you seeing this in Arizona? Are you seeing this in Minnesota? So no, you explained it. So I was just wondering.
And I'm seeing it even
I-
among people that I interact with, my own extended family. Their conversation points are changing. Their talking points are changing. Give you an example. One of my children went from J hook, right? That's what I call it, the J hook, and has moved. And I didn't do it.
I think we're friends on Facebook too.
That's a good example of what I'm talking about, is
Yeah.
movement that you're seeing, and you're going, I didn't do that. I didn't
Yep.
tell them anything. I didn't
Yep.
say anything to them. I'm not preaching at them. I'm doing my job, but I'm over here in my corner, right?
Yeah.
My little evangelist corner where I repeat myself 7,400 times.
But who's counting?
But
All
who's counting?
Where in Hosea chapter 8 would you like to begin, sir?
They sacrificed for
Because-
flesh.
Because
Sacrifice.
Yahuwah put this on your heart. So where would you like to begin?
You can say it. You can start right. Look at verse 13. I want to hit something really hard because we don't have a lot of time. We're going to use our time wisely, okay? And we all have things to do. All right, but look at this. Look what he says. Let's start with verse 12. I have written to him great things of my Torah, but they were counted as a strange thing. Now, where have we seen this? Well, we're watching it right now, where many people are suddenly coming into the things of the kingdom, and they count them as strange things. They are counted to him as sin, right? As it says in verse 11. And they sacrifice flesh for the sacrifice of mine offerings and eat it, but Yahuwah accepted them not. Now he will remember their iniquity. What? He will remember their iniquity and visit their sins. Now, this harkens back to Exodus 20, which I always point to. The 3 and 4 generation curses, the things that things do because we forget the ways of Yahuwah. Look at verse 14. For Israel hath forgotten her as his maker, and buildeth temples. And Judah hath multiplied fenced cities, but I will set a fire upon his cities and shall devour the palaces thereof.
There's a 70 AD scripture for you with repeated patterns.
With repeated patterns. Exactly. You still win silly prizes for doing the same stupid things. You still winning stupid prizes. Okay. So if you think the prizes are not going to keep coming because something was fulfilled, buddy, all you're going to see is it keeps repeating. You keep committing adultery, you get the same result. You keep committing fornication, you get the same result. You keep committing idolatry, right? You invite in demons, you worship false gods, you're going to end up in poverty. All I got to do is look at your life and say, oh, looks like you're not quite doing it right. Let's fix that. Okay. And by the way, don't anybody feel bad, because we were all deceived. Every single one of us, without exception. So this is why we had to go ask him to tell us the truth. And he did. Right. And so this entire passage deals with the whirlwind that comes as a result of idolatry, the many altars to sin. Okay, and
What
these
verse is that?
things,
What verse is? I
verse
know you.
verse 11 speaks of hath made
Here it is.
many altars for sin. The altars shall be counted to him as sin.
There it is, right there.
There it is, right there. Okay, so this jumped out at me years ago. And this is why it began a cry in my heart. Well, I don't want to do this. I don't want to be responsible for that. Right? And how many went ahead and didn't even ask any questions? Oh, well, everybody has always done the 3-step rise, right, brother? Okay, you don't do that. You instinctively knew not to. I don't know why, but you did. But others didn't think anything of it, and they went the opposite direction. Oh, well, we got to have the 3 steps. We got to have the high rise. We got to follow. We got to bring in one of these ornate altars and tell everyone to come forward for the altar call.
Let me interject something here.
Mhm.
Before you shared this with the stone altar and the 3 steps, and you get the credit for the Yahuwah, revealing that to you, and I followed you. But that never sat well with me. Even when I was in Miami, I had a 1 step, and then I would often come down.
Yes. See, your instinct. Look at your instinct.
I would often come down from the 1 step and stand in front of. Those are the days I can stand for an hour and a half. Okay. And go up and down with the microphone, a little churchy, a little church routine, up and down the aisles, stand on chairs, stuff like that. But the point is, it never sat well with me for me to be a Nicolite, 3 steps up, and all the peons who pay my salary, sitting below. That never sat well with me. You could ask the people going back to the Miami days.
I bet I could.
Even when we had to build a rise, it was 1 step. So I intuitively knew there was something wrong with those steps.
And I bet you the way you preached was you came down and walked around.
That's right.
And I didn't even have to be there. Okay.
And when I was on top of the step, I sat.
Isn't that something? Okay.
Like Yahusha sat and humbled himself among the people. He didn't stand over the people.
Right. That's what I'm trying to say is that, folks, those that Yahuwah is calling, right, when he sets a person apart and pulls on their heart, they may do some things wrong, because Abraham did. He had to learn as he walked, but it was accounted on him the righteousness that he believed the Lo Hayam, which meant that when he would learn something, he would do it correctly. So instinct, the anointing which abides within you, will move you toward the correct answer. Okay, it's when we fight it. It's when the dusty dogma. It's when the patterns of tradition, which war against the anointing, which make the kingdom seem strange to you. Verse 12. Okay, it makes the kingdom seem strange to you because of the traditions that you grew up with. Okay, so when you go and read the Torah, you go, oh, well, this is weird. It's not weird. This is the right way. The way the world does it is weird.
Right.
And it produces poverty.
Right.
Okay. That's what I mean by look at the
even
result.
Spiritual poverty, not just material poverty.
Material poverty, spiritual poverty, emotional poverty, relationship poverty, in every area.
A lot of those things are kissing sisters. The spiritual and physical poverty usually a lot of times go together. But I mean, look, this is nailed big time. Look, many altars causing sin, and they were strange things. In other words, exactly what you said. The Torah, which shouldn't have been strange, was strange. Right. The altars, which should have been strange, were familiar spirited altars.
Exactly. And we keep saying certain things because it's almost like you guys have all been trained.
And that's cray.
That is some cray. You don't get it.
That is some cray stuff right there.
Right in front of our faces, and it's right there. And we're like, I didn't see that before. And where was Peter walking when his shadow healed people? I keep saying this because I know it's waking people up. I know when they go like, they do one of those shutter moves, and they're like, where was he walking? And then they have to run and go look it up. They can't take it. They're like, where was he walking? And so they go running, they look it up, and they go, he was walking toward the temple, Torah of place. Oh boy. And that causes a little collapse, a little crash, a little bit of, oh no. we maybe didn't do it. Maybe we don't have some things right. Maybe this is why we saw such terrible results, and our young people don't even understand how to move forward, right? And they're confused, and there's a lot of confusion. So now Yahuwah by his Ruach, what does he do? He sends word to heal them and deliver them from their destruction.
Psalm 107.
I
But
mean,
but it's amazing. Look, those fake altars, even in Mount Moriah, Israel had begun to go after, because we know they were corrupted. We know the altars were corrupted. But watch this.
go.
Watch this. Somebody may learn something. Watch this. In the book of Hebrews, it says that the inside the Holy of Holies was the Ark of the Covenant, et cetera, and also the altar of incense. Now, wait a second. That's not true. If you read Exodus and the pattern in chapters 28 through 39 or 38, you see that the altar of incense, signifying the prayers of the saints, was in the holy place. But Paul says, or Barnabas, whoever wrote Hebrews, says that the altar of incense was in the Holy of Holies. Well, how do we explain that? It has to do with the altars that we just read about. They put
And it has
wheels
to do with the veil that's taken away.
Peter, they put wheels on that sucker, and they shoved it into the Holy of Holies when it was supposed to be in the holy place. So they even messed up the Kadosh altar and put wheels on it and moved it into the Holy of Holies. Think about that. So either whoever wrote Hebrews was on drugs, or he's showing us the corruption of the fake altars, right?
That's a good question.
Woo!
I would have to circle back to.
Wow.
I'd have to be looking at the passage you're talking about. But what
Sure.
concerns me as I looked at this years ago was, did we get tricked? So that was my question. Because as I looked around, and we talk about fruit, we talk about results. And when I see poverty, I grew up in poverty. I don't like poverty. Okay. It's just the way I feel about it. Sorry. I grew up with that. So it's not like I didn't have plenty of it. I just don't like it. I've had both. I don't like poverty. I don't think the king does either. Now, that being said, I went looking around this country because I'm certain some of you have got to have had it right? And I know what the blessing looks like. And the blessing is defined. It is clear. It is outlined. It's got checklists. It's in two places, Leviticus as well as Deuteronomy. And it's not hard for us to confine or for us to double check if it's manifesting or not, just like any doctor looking at symptoms. And so as we started looking, I'm going, well, where are they? Where are the blessed? Where are they? And when you can't find that, you have new questions to ask, because if you cannot discern between the blessing and the curse, if you just don't know the difference, that's the very definition of blindness.
True.
You have no idea which is which. You're blind. How can you lead then? I mean, you need to full stop right there.
And to balance this thing, and to balance this thing, riches takes many forms, as you've said.
Right.
We're not just talking about digital currency. We're not
talking about any.
We're talking about the true riches which come from Yahuwah, which is peace, joy, righteousness, and provision. That's a big part of that. Peace, joy, righteousness in the Ruach, and provision, because Yahuwah's sheep are not supposed to be in lack. So
there you have it.
There are many forms of spirit of riches. When I think of riches, I think of the opening of the heart and the opening of the mind.
Yes,
that Abba has given us. That can lead to material riches. Certainly, that can lead to material. But they're, as I said earlier, for me, they're connected. In other words, the best boss. Let me put it to this way: a little bit different than you approach it, because we're different people. But the best boss that I ever had is Yahusha. And I don't mean that to be cute or to be, to be sarcastic. I was broke when I was in the world. I was literally, Mom, can I borrow? Mom, it's a good thing Mom was alive. Because I would show up in Jamaica, Queens at her apartment. Mom, okay, fine. I'll take you to the doctor. Can you give me some money? Okay, Mom, fine. I'll take you to the lawyer's office. But on the way back, that's how I lived. But when I gave my heart to Yahusha, Peter, I've never lacked a thing. I got 3 times more than I need. I'm not a rich man, but I'm a man that's being provided for.
Right. That's my point, is that the results will show. And so we can't deny results. We just we acknowledge it. And then there are some people that get extraordinary results. Like some people might be getting pretty good. And then somebody goes, ping, and you go, whoa, where did you get those double-sized melons? And how'd you get that? And now next thing that person's teaching, well, I'm going to show you a more excellent way. I'm going to show you some things I learned. I'm going to show you some awesome truths that I unpacked. But we're seeing it from the results side. That's my point, is instead of going out there and just pontificating, I think the Shabbat goes this way. I think the Shabbat goes this way. I think we should do this. I think we should do that. Meanwhile, your life is a hot mess. I'm sorry, but I'm going to look at the fruit of that as much as I'm going to look at your deductions, right? And so that's been the point that I think we've been making, or at least we've been trying to make.
And many people have found out over the years that if you do things according to the Yahuwah's way,
right,
and you take the Shabbat off, you're going to make more financially, other whatever provision you need in the 6 days than you will in the 7. But only the people that do the word know that. See, when you think about it, you have people that think about Saturday is usually the farmer's market day, the get out and meet people day, right? Exchange business cards, right? So until you start doing the Shabbat and then realizing, wait a second, we have double provision on Friday, just like in Exodus 16. we got a double portion. Yeah, and then
I'm not missing any meals, so I'm good.
And then people say,
I gotta fast more.
People say, how do I make more working 6 days than 7 days? Because you're honoring Yahuwah. That's how.
That's right. And going back to verse 5.
And who finds that out, brother? Who finds that out? The people that keep Shabbat.
Right.
Not the people that are afraid to tell their employer, take this, what did Willie Nelson say? Take this job and you know what, right? Okay.
Right. Exactly.
So you got to be real.
Doctrine and shove it.
I tell people
doctrine and shove it.
I tell people all the time, have you fired your boss? What do you mean? We are the head and not the tail. And I don't mean this sarcastically or in a pompous way. When you take a job, you have to hire the employer because you have set certain requirements and boundaries that Yahuwah has required of you. And if you let him hire you, you're missing it. We have the marching orders from the king that if we do things his way, we're going to receive the brachot, right?
Right.
Okay, guys, I hear everybody saying the bracha. No, the plural is brachot. So we're going to receive the brachot, and we hire the employer. Now that sounds pompous in the natural, but it's survival. It's abundant living to hire your employer. What employer is going to be flexible enough to work with you, or even better, setting up the type of stuff you're setting up, where we are independent of government and independent of secular employment. So that's obviously a better way. Obviously, that's a better.
One of the things that we want to do is we want young people to see the gospel in action. And it's one thing to lament and feel sorry for a family that's hurting. It's another thing to say, I'm going to come off my hip and solve this problem for you guys. Now, these young people may not be able to do that. Obviously, they don't have the means, but they can go along for the ride and watch it done. And when they do, they will drive back to that place going, I want to do that, with tears in their eyes, as they saw that family on the edge of destruction, and heroes came and showed up at the last minute. I believe that should be our norm. We should be always showing up. That is the way we are meant to be. Unfortunately, we lost those examples along the way, and we need to recover them. And as we do, and as we see that continuously, now you understand the purpose of wealth. Wealth is for establishing his covenant upon the earth.
Right.
So that's its purpose. When you seek it for its sake, you have made an idol out of the thing. So it could be lumber. If you do that with lumber, you'll make lumber an idol. So you can't do that about anything. You must understand its purpose, and you must produce the fruit thereof. The fruit is changed lives. People no longer buying the lies. It's people now. Imagine a young person, 26 years old, no longer now chasing the dollar. Now they're chasing their purpose. They have plenty of money they learned. They mastered that with their brothers and their sisters. And if they get in trouble, they can call for help. And everyone that shows up, not a feeble one among them. But why are they showing up? because what they're doing is extraordinary. Maybe they're helping some poor people in this city. Maybe they're helping turn around a problem in this part of the world or that part of the world. These are extraordinary people cut loose because they are no longer being lied to about what they do or don't have in their hands. Mashiach was trying to tell us that from day one. That's why he sat us down in companies and then fed us. Sat us down in companies first, then fed us, and fed 5,000 with the fish of a young boy, his lunch. Just to prove to us that it is his methods that produce abundance wherever we go.
Deuteronomy 8 is one of my favorite scriptures. He gives you the power to get wealth, not the wealth, but the power. Okay, that's dunamis, that's ruach, in order to establish the covenant. And for us, that's saving souls, saving families, saving relationships. That's the new covenant. But that's, man, that hit me. That verse really has hit me and ministered to me throughout the years. And that's a great reason to tithe, because he uses the wealth to establish the covenant. That's a very powerful. Is there anything else in Hosea chapter 8? Because I know you mentioned you saw several things in there.
So John chapter 7 was the passage that I had in my heart, because it's the pure reason why you go to do the work of the ministry. And it's the first passage that he sat me down with 31 and a half years ago now. Because I didn't feel qualified to go. I didn't. I know some of you may look today and say, Peter, you didn't feel qualified to go. No, I did not. I probably still don't. But Yahuwah is the one who authorizes. And he taught me a long time ago that whom man appoints and man anoints, man must empower. But whom he appoints and he anoints, he will empower.
Right.
And that's been my experience. But in John chapter 7, verse 16, he starts a rebuke.
Well, let me turn there for you.
Yeah, who are calling his ministry and his work into question. Many of you are beginning now, and you're starting to walk. And maybe you're being called. Maybe you're one of those that are rising in the anointing, and Yahuwah is putting his hand upon you. So we want to encourage you, right? And so the Yahudim marveled at him, verse 15. How does this man know how to read the scrolls? Haven't never learned in a yeshiva. He didn't go to our approved schools. Okay? He's not one of our guys. How dare you get out here and start teaching? Who do you think you are?
Mm-hmm.
And here Mashiach gave me and everyone who follows a wonderful place to stand.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, my teaching is not mine, but his who sent me.
Mm-hmm.
If any man desires his will, he shall know of the teaching, whether it be from Yahuwah or if I speak of my own thoughts.
Amen.
He that speaks of himself, meaning coming from his own self, seeks his own tiferet. He's looking for his own kavod, his own glory. But he that seeks the tiferet of the one who sent him. That is the key. Watch this. The same is Amat, and there is no unrighteousness in him, no matter what anybody says. Messiah says, he that speaks of the one who sent him, there is no unrighteousness in him. And so he makes a declaration. And when he ministered this to me personally, it really broke me to tears, of course, because you feel very unworthy to do the thing you're called to do. And if you think I felt worthy, you are much mistaken. And so he had to minister this to me, that you are called to speak the words of him who sends you. Remain faithful. He spoke other things to me, but that was one of the main things that he taught me very early on, very early in the walk. And that's why I love to share it, because I know some of you are beginning your walk. You're beginning your work of ministry, your thing that he's called you to do. And you don't even know how to walk that out. You have no idea. You're terrified that you're like being afraid of being a fraud. You're afraid of being a fake. You're like, I don't even know how to do this, right? But this is the fear all his servants have at the beginning as they begin to walk with him, as they begin to realize that unless he does it, I can do nothing. As Mashiach said, unless he shows up, I'm going to look pretty dumb.
I love what he says here. Look. If any man desires to please Yahuwah or do his will, he will know if I'm making stuff up, my own thoughts. He's basically saying whether I'm making stuff. And the only way to know if the word is made up and we're making stuff up, we're creating God in our image, okay, is to do the teaching. And that's what I was talking about earlier with Shabbat. You're not going to know if you could survive on 6 days' income until you do the Shabbat. In other words, once you
run the experiment, right?
Once you do his teachings, you will not need Peter or myself or anybody. We can encourage you. But once you do his teachings, then
you don't need us anymore.
No, then you will know that every word is true.
Yep. Yep. That's exactly right.
It's like what Eva Perón said to the Argentinian people in the Casa Rosada. He says, every word I've spoken to you is true. Yeah, right. But it is true in Yahusha. So Yahusha's waiting for someone to do his word.
Believe him.
And a lot of times you're not going to know it's true for yourself until you do it.
Right. And that's the point that he is making. And those that are seeking their own kavod, who put out recipes with no proof, right? I think we should do it this way. Okay, let's look at your life. Is that producing results? Oh, you have this terrible result, this terrible result. I'm going category by category, and which is what the curse looks like. It goes category by category, right? So you look at the curse and you're like, oh my goodness, you don't want any of that. And you look at this person's life who's teaching, and they can't produce fruit. And they've been teaching the same thing for years. 4 years, right?
Bingo.
4 years, not just a day or a week, over 4 years. And he said 1 year dig and dung produced fruit. So you're producing fruit. The question is what? We're going to look at the fruit you're producing if it's good fruit. But you're producing because you're doing things or not doing things. Even that produces a fruit, okay, or a result. So results you can't avoid. And you can't avoid people looking at your results either. So parents saying, you do what I say, not what I do, that doesn't work. Okay, your child's looking at you. Like, you said that, but...
And I learned a long time ago how to handle my critics. Let me explain to you how I handle my critics. I blow them off. And that sounds pompous and arrogant, but let me tell you why I blow them off. Because I've learned after 40 some odd years walking with Yahusha, I have enough fruit out there that'll defend me and speak for me. All I got to do is unleash all my boys. Now, their loyalty is to Yahusha. Their loyalty is not to me, but I trained them right. Okay? So I stopped defending myself. I'm like, okay, they don't want to examine my fruit. They don't want to see the receipts because they're more interested in a grudge or a personal vendetta or some nuance in personality rather than confronting the receipts, because the receipts will knock them out. I know that's how I handle my critics. I don't defend myself anymore. I say to that person, would you like to speak to the lives around the world, the pastors, the marriages that I've put together? Well, how do you put marriages together? Because I discern things in the spirit, and I see that they're equally yoked. I don't run a matchmaking agency. So I've learned not to defend myself anymore. My fruit, they'll do a better job defending Yahuwah's servant than I will.
That's right. People have called and asked to talk to people here at New Kingdom. I don't filter those conversations. I don't have any idea what they even talked about. People call and talk to my wife all the time. Talk to Mindy all the time. I don't have any control. I don't control that. I don't have any issues with that. Why? Because either you're doing what you're supposed to do or you're not. And if you're trying to control it, then you maybe have other issues. But the bottom line is that results are what they are, right? So your other lips should praise thee. People around you should be like, no, I'm going to tell you the real thing, and shouldn't care about that scrutiny. Shouldn't bother you. And if they find a flaw, be grateful and say, thank you. Let's fix that. I mean, it's all how you look at it.
What fruit did the Pharisees have? Nothing. They had absolutely no fruit.
They did have
And-
fruit. They had poverty as fruit. They had demonic infiltration as fruit. They had people ignoring the Torah as fruit. They had people being demonically infested with lunatic demons. They had a lot of fruit. It was just bad.
Right. Well, and Yahushua said you're shutting people out of the kingdom.
Right. That's bad fruit.
Bad fruit.
That's fruit, but it's bad.
The
It's
fruit of the
Cain.
Pharisaic ministry and all those years of the Pharisees and the Sadducees being in control is that people were getting shut out of the kingdom. That was their fruit.
You got hyper proud people who are like Diana of the Ephesians, right? So they're so hyper proud of their personal doctrines, they don't even care what results they're getting. They could be living in abject poverty. They're still going to shout. And that's something that you can't change. Whereas his anointed, which he talks about in Jeremiah 23, where he says that he will gather his people into their folds, well, they will be fruitful and increase, and they shall not lack. That's a very specific statement. Now, I don't know about the rest of you, but if somebody says that to me, I'm going to take it really personally and very seriously. I got a family I got to take care of. I'm responsible for them. So if you're telling me if I go this way, my family's not going to lack, versus if I go this way, I'm on my own, I'm going to go this way. And I'm going to count on you to do what you said you'd do, which is what he does.
Yeah.
And I'm living proof that if you seek first his kingdom and his Zedakah, okay, if you do that, you will not be disappointed. So if you're looking for an example to say, well, who did this and did it work out for them, right? Did it work out for you? Then that's a very important question to ask.
Yep. Well, you know,
Okay.
I'll never forget this. So, you know how some things stick out, right, in a relationship. Is when we started talking, when we first met, I'll never forget one of the first things you asked me to show everybody that you are consistent. One of the first things you asked me, so do you just have like an internet ministry or do you have an actual assembly in Florida? It was one of the first things you asked me, and I said, no, we have living people here in the actual assembly. But I see that it's always the assembly. So if there's some people that are out there, they have more excuses not to be in the assembly because you're speaking about where the brachot, plural, are, and Deuteronomy 28. Oh, but as you've said a million times, all those principles have to be connected to work. And one of the main connections, if not the main connection, is where is your house? Where is your assembly? That's when those principles work, right? Because when you think about Deuteronomy 28 and all the blessings and cursings, these are corporate principles. They're not just individual principles.
That's
The
right.
dry bones, Son of Man, this is the whole house of Israel. They're not 5'3" Jewish guys jumping out of a grave when Christ Jesus comes. No, the bones are the whole house of Israel. You follow
That's right.
what I'm saying?
And some people will say, yes, I do follow what you're saying. And some people have said, it's been said of me my whole life, demasiado is what my nickname, which in Spanish means too much or over more than you need, more than enough. Okay. And radical, I'm sure a lot of times I've heard that many times throughout my lifetime, but that's super radical. You're going to go see if Sodom and Gomorrah is actually there. Well, that's radical, right? Or you're going to actually go around that's radical, right? Radical produces radical results. So one thing that I learned is don't half step. When it comes to Yahuwah, don't half step. Go all in. All right, go all in. Every example I see, every example I read was all in examples. Okay, beginning with Abraham, all in. All right, so that's how I attacked it. I attacked it all in. Let's go. Let's do this all in. Right. And who's shocked at my results? Who's shocked to see the supernatural blessings on finances, the supernatural blessings on the oil, the supernatural blessings in the rain, the supernatural blessings in relationships, the supernatural blessings in marriage, the supernatural blessing in the fact that my son did not die, but instead lived to declare the kavod of Yahuwah. I don't know how many I have to count. I have so many that I feel embarrassed to even detail them because he doted over me. I feel like he opened the floodgate of things and said, want anything else? He kept pouring things out, right? So of course I feel like, my goodness, I want to take care. I want all of you to have that. I want you to wake up every day like I do. I honestly wish the happiness I have on all of you, because every single day I wake up and I smile because he has new things for us to do. Brethren, this is supposed to be the walk you walk. You're supposed to pray and things happen. Yesterday, I was talking to my brother Dion. My brother Dion is watching this broadcast. He is north of me, about 3-4 hour drive. I don't know how many miles. And he's up higher, about 2,000 feet elevation. It was 100 degrees here and 100 degrees there. And we have been getting rain, right? So we didn't think anything of it because he's just north of me. So I assumed he was getting rain too. And I said, brother, how about this rain? He goes, well, we didn't get any rain up here. I said, you didn't? He goes, no, we just got a lot of wind and a lot of bluster, but we didn't get any rain. And I said, oh, that's not going to do. So David and I were both on the phone with him. Okay. This was just yesterday. We're both on the phone with him. And I said, oh, David, brother Dion, he's not getting rain. We got rain here. You got rain there. David had to run out and cut his grass in between rain because it was coming down. He had to go quick and do it. Right. And so he's getting rain. I'm getting rain, but Dion wasn't. So we said, we got to stop right here. We got to pray. So we did really quick. Wasn't even a big deal. Next thing you know, this morning I talked to Dion before I get on the line with you. He goes, oh man, it came in nice last night. He slept so good. He's like, oh, that rain came in. It was so nice. It was so, I mean, there's nothing like rain in the country, right?
Rain on me.
Come on, man. Rain in the country is special. Okay.
Love,
the smell and the
rain
feeling and the
on
moisture in the
me.
air. Forget it, right? We just like, oh, yada Yahuwah, right? We're just worshiping him for the rain, people, for the rain.
But
You
and
hear me?
remember, rain is, of course, rain is one of the brachot. But remember what I was saying before: those blessings and curses were corporate. Why? Yahuwah gave it to Moses to give to the body,
Thank
the
you.
corporate body.
You will
They were not
be
supposed
a
to be
blessing.
exceptions.
I'll be a
They were not supposed to be outliers, exceptions. No,
Thank you.
he was talking to the corporate body.
Thank you.
We tend to read Deuteronomy 28 and turn to our husband and say, "We're not blessed." Well, but before you make it individual, it was given corporately for the whole house to be echad in their brachot, in their
But
blessing.
how many know they needed radical Moses? They needed radical Abraham. They need radicals. They need the guy that says, all right, we're going to do this a different way than you ever saw before. So you can see
Yep.
the contrasting picture. And then you can go, oh, now
true.
I see this is different. Yahuwah's doing something. Okay. Now we can put the Eliyahu on this hill and the 850 on this hill. And we
And
go, okay. Now we get it.
And sometimes that's why he leaves you alone for a season. You feel like you're all alone because you're in trailblazing mode. Look, have you ever read Isaiah 51:1? Mm-hmm. When I called Abraham, he was alone. Yahuwah didn't want him with a Gad, a troop, because the Gad had a screwed up mentality. Most Gads, G-A-D, have a screwed up mentality, including believing in God, G-O-D.
It's pronounced the same way. You,
All right.
You set that up.
Isaiah 64. So Isaiah 51. So I'm all alone in Tempe. I'm all alone in Wawi, North Carolina. Perfect. That must be. It's very possible you're alone for a pioneering mission.
For a great reason. Yep.
And once you knock down a few walls, you're going to have a whole troop following you. So that's a place.
The results.
That's a place of, as you say, knocking down walls, pioneering. So sometimes being isolated is not a curse. It's actually a prep to take you and those who follow you out of isolation as you're doing a pioneering work. Makes sense. I'm sure it makes sense to you.
Oh, man. And by the way, nice comments out there, folks. Jacob, thanks for saying that. Somebody says, I love hearing these discussions. That's really sweet. It's very encouraging to us.
Yes, it is. Is he behaving himself? Is he behaving
We
himself?
could have these talks privately. We did. We used to talk privately.
Because if he don't behave himself, I know how to handle him. Trust me. I got the
No,
the keys to the palace.
You're missing my point. Listen to me. Back when, we used to have these conversations privately. And then we said, no, let's do it out here where everybody can hear it, right? And where they can get benefit from these years that we spent, basically testing everything, which he told us to do. So we start testing everything. We're finding, well, that's fake. And then somebody wants those results, right? So we're sharing, okay, let me tell you what we found out. Let me show you what I saw. That's a lot of ministry, is verification of his word, authentication. Just like the military, they got to authenticate orders. Well, you got to authenticate whether or not what you're seeing is real, which is why the Bereans reviewed Paul according to the Torah.
Correct.
So, by the way, and if he had been teaching to break the Shabbat, he would never have passed the Berean review.
Right. And they were more noble than the saints in Thessalonica, because
That's right.
they searched the scriptures daily if these things were so. So, by the way, speaking of young people, so Yaakov is another young man with a call in his life. Definitely has a call in his life. He even has a YouTube channel. It's got to be more developed. So he's like, Nehemiah, Yoshi, all these young men that Yahuwah is sending my way and are being raised up. So I definitely see a call in his life, and he's going to have to be here. He's going to have to be here for a while. He's going to have to be here for a while while the chestnuts roast. Okay, chestnuts roasting on an open fire.
That's right. And these are members of Yati, right? So they're not members of Remnant House, but they are members of the Alliance. So what does that mean? Well, that means that they can contact another Alliance member, like they would contact me and say, hey, I need a little help with something. And I'm like, sure, how can I help you? Right. And it doesn't necessarily directly benefit my ministry necessarily, but because it benefits the Alliance through that ministry, I'm happy to help. Right.
No problem.
So this is a beautiful new thing that we're seeing. And there again is where I'm seeing a shift. Because you've got young people suddenly going, hey, we're not alone. We can work. We can network. We can connect together.
There's a but to that. Let me throw a but in there.
Sure.
If you're at odds and you don't want to make shalom and you don't want to extend forgiveness and you jump to another house in the Alliance, the other house should bounce you back. You understand what I'm saying? In other words,
if you find somebody in that state, absolutely.
You feel called to be with one house in the Alliance. Okay, you've got to be in shalom and in peace and forgiveness with whatever house you were in previously, in order to be received. In other words, we don't mind people going back and forth because we're all echad. However, there's that exception. Do you follow what I'm saying? There's that.
I absolutely follow what you're saying. In other words,
if somebody's at odds with you, and say, Peter did this, Mindy did this, can I join? Oh, wait a second.
Right.
I've been listening to you teach. I love your teaching. I said, are you in shalom? And then I find out that you refuse to forgive or to forgive offenses. I'm not going to receive you. So there's a little caveat to that. One thing.
Yeah, and I think you would know this is the maturity of the Alliance, right?
Yeah.
So if somebody comes to me and they're offended, I'm going to walk them through that. I'm not going to be like, oh, let me coddle that offense. No, we're going to walk through that, and we're going to come up with remedies. We're going to heal it. We're not going to let that sit. That's maturity. Whereas immature would fuel the fire, right? Would fuel strife or fuel division,
right?
Like Absalom.
You're right in your offense. You're right, baby. Oh,
right,
baby.
Exactly.
You're right. I'll hug you.
Right, and instead of countering it, so peacemakers are always sent into chaos. One more time, I'm just going to say that one more time. Yep. Peacemakers are always sent into chaos. Mm-hmm. So if you're expecting things to be all nice and orderly when you showed up, well, what are you needed for, peacemaker? You're an unnecessary part now if you're going in and it's all nice and orderly. No, you're always sent into disorder. That's what you're always sent to. And what do you do with it? Well, you take that chaos and you bring order out of it, and things start being done decently and in order. Like, oh, you're going to bring a charge without 2 or 3 witnesses? Oops. Are you going to do this inappropriately? Oops. Are you going to go off half-cocked with emotion? Oops, right? What sin was actually committed, right? So things like that have to be processed, calmer, wiser, simpler heads, right? This is the apostles at the gates, and it's many of us, not just 2. There's many apostles. You just see the 2 of us, you think that's all there is? No, there's an alliance of us. Okay. And so here's the thing is that we're saying, people, we all have to come together, unite in one accord. Nobody has it all. I don't care who you are. I don't have it all. I'm pretty sure my brother knows he doesn't have it all. Okay. But together, we work things out together.
Right.
And
And a
then
lot, but you
we
talk about
put
a lot.
fire out. We don't stoke a fire. We
Right.
put it out.
That's very important. But you said there's a lot of apostles. Well, let me tell you the way the church structure is, and I know we're not the church structure. I understand that, but the way the religious structure I'll tell you where the apostles are. They're not a lot like you and me. There just aren't. We're not the only ones, but they're just not a lot. And one of the reasons is because of the ecclesiastical pressures, meaning they don't pay apostles. Apostles don't have a 401k from the church. The evangelist has to go out and raise his own funds.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's only one of the fivefold where you have a 401k, a car, Mother Boyd gets a fur coat every Christmas. Okay. People don't just bring their tithe to the altar. Oh, no. They have to come to the front, put it in a bucket so Mother Boyd can get a new fur coat for Christmas. Okay. So the apostle, wait a second, the carnal apostle sees this and wait a second, I got to feed my family. So I'm going to apply to be the pastor of First Baptist of Dallas because the salary is $80,000 a year plus a pension. So a lot of our apostles who get weak, and they get weak in faith, and they get weak in terms of the pressures of life, wind up as pastors. The pulpits of this country, I can't speak for the other, are full of apostles and evangelists who couldn't raise their own money, and they became a pastor. You hear what I'm saying?
Yeah,
And it shouldn't be that way. It shouldn't be that way. Why is the evangelist not worthy of support? Why is the
Don't blame the people. Don't blame the people.
no? I'm
Don't
not
do
blaming the people. I'm not.
Don't
blaming
get mad at them and say, "Why aren't you supporting them?" No,
I'm not-
I'm going to say it this way:
the
Yahuwah
ecclesiastical
supplies-
structure.
Yahuwah supplies those he called. You may not be called, and those that are looking to just squirrel away into some job failed the test. They're part of the 30,000 that he's sending back. They didn't have the courage to do what he called them to do. I'm sorry, there's no shortcut, folks. You got to cowboy up.
But I'm just
You got
answering
to
the
cowboy
question.
up. There's no shortcut.
Where
And
are
if he
the
doesn't
apostles?
provide for you? You probably need to sit down.
Where are the Peter Martinez's and the Konachowskis? They're there. Some of them have become pastors. I know that for a fact. Listen, I had a lot of economic pressure when I was a younger minister,
That's too bad.
and I did what I saw other people do. They gave up their office because there was one office in the American. I'm not blaming the people. In the American ecclesiastical structure, the pastor is the alpha and the omega of religion. Okay, there is no evangelist that's supported on staff. There is no apostle that can oversee the congregation.
You're
And
talking
the
about churchianity, right?
Right, it's the ecclesiastical system. But I'm saying is a lot of guys like you and me made a mistake, and they left their apostleship and they became pastors.
Well, they're not like you and me then.
No.
So I'm sorry, but I'm not going to take that. And I don't have a lot of sympathy for that because listen, I'm going to be direct. I have the same 24 hours everybody else has. I didn't get any golden spoons put in my mouth. Nobody paved the way in front of me other than the Ruach. And if you're making excuses, I had to feed my family. I didn't have a family. Well, I had every pressure you have. I have every responsibility you have, and then some. And I didn't shirk them. Instead, he made me greater because I bowed low and said, what do I need to do to win? Not how do I get out of it? How do I overcome it? And this, the question you ask, if you want to be excused, you'll be excused. If you want to be an overcomer, he'll train you. But the training's going to introduce you to Mr. Pavement. Okay? You're going to meet discipline. It's going to smack the snot out of hypocrisy. Okay?
Bingo.
Because you don't even trust yourselves. You make a promise and
Bingo.
you know when you make it, most of you, that you're not going to keep it because discipline has to show up
And the
back
last
up
5
your
people,
promise.
yeah, and the last 5 people that I disciplined turn around and falsely accuse me of being harsh.
No, I'm not
But-
talking about discipline is not about something you put on somebody else. Discipline is something you do to yourself. Okay.
Right.
Discipline is what you do when you wake up in the morning.
Guidance from the fivefold.
Guidance is just an example. Our example, like when I get up in the morning and you know where I am from 8 to 8:30 and I'm doing my whatever, I'm putting my body through a buffeting.
Tai Chi.
Guess what? Yeah, whatever it is, Tai Chi, exercise, Zumba, whatever you're doing, whatever you're pushing your body for, or military calisthenics, which is where I'm headed, right? And so why? Because you want to move your body. Get up on a horse, ride that for 3 hours. I bet you're going to feel that. Okay? It's everything you force yourself to do. This is what I look at. I look at what you force yourself to do. What do you have the intestinal fortitude to say, I don't feel like it, but I'm going anyway? That's a man right there. That's a woman right there. People that just agree with you, but don't have the fortitude, don't have the legs, their talk is cheap. That's all it is talk. They might even agree with you, but they don't have the legs for it. Okay? And what you're really judging by is not by their agreement in mouth and in word, but in deed. Indeed. And that requires discipline. And there's a massive disconnect. So we got a bunch of people that have a lot of head knowledge, but they can tell you how to work out, but don't work out. They can tell you how to lose weight, but don't lose weight. They can tell you how to get rich, but don't get rich. They can tell you how to be a good servant, but they don't serve. They can tell you where they should tithe, but they don't tithe. So they have it here, but they don't have the discipline to actually execute his will. That same 24 hours a day. Yep. So we can just look at a day. All right. Yep. And results are what they are. With the young people that we're going to work with, okay, I'm going to accelerate their results by teaching them the secrets he taught me. So I'm going to just show them the things he showed me. And as they walk those experiments out without all that dusty dogma in their head, that's why you want young people, because they don't have all that. They just do what you tell them. And it's a funny thing how they just obey. And next thing you know, they're conquering 38 successive cities. Why? Because they just did what they were told. They stopped arguing. That's how you take the promised land. You do not take the promised land with a bunch of know-it-alls. Sorry. So they're going to be offended because Sholiak says you need to stop doing this. Then they got to go look and see what the Ruach is saying. When the Ruach uses a Sholiak, like Sholiak Moshe, to bring you correction, it's the Ruach bringing the correction. The Sholiak's just the vessel. Just the guy talking that day.
No matter how you try to blow it off, that's what
you can't blow it off. It won't go away. It sticks to you.
Yeah, so I want to say my philosophy. I want to say it for my friends, my enemies, and my neutrals. I don't want to have any control over anybody that's not been assigned to me. And if you feel that you're to be in my ministry, I would be controlling you. All you got to do to end that control is walk out the door. Once you walk out the door, I have no
go with their feet for sure.
I have no control over you. You realize that everybody who thinks that there's a controlling spirit or a desire to lord it over you, no problem. As soon as you walk out that door, any control that you think I have will end. But you won't have the guidance and the wisdom that's available to you.
Right. You're going to lose that. You're going to forfeit those benefits. Plain that you can't have both. You can't have the benefits of submission without submission. You can't have the benefits of honor without honor. You can't have the benefits of faithful without faithful. I know that's deep, but stay with me, church. You can't have him say, well done, thou good and faithful servant, when you never showed up. Let's stop lying. He ain't going to say that to you.
Yep. It starts with find an assembly. Make that before you go to work, before you clean the rug, before you buy your wife a nice little birthday. Find an assembly, because if it's a strong assembly, you will be promoted.
And what he promised, he does. I'm here to state, I like to say it emphatically, because I hear people, sort of millie-mousing and sort of half-stepping on his promises. No, what he promises, he means it. When he said seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, and he would just give you stuff, I'm telling you, it's true.
Before we go, listen, when are we going to make our first Tai Chi video, you and me?
Tai Chi! You and me, man. I'm going to have to come and hang out with you to do that. But listen, we're not going to make a Tai Chi video for our friends.
so they can get
we
a
can't
good
do
laugh?
Tai Chi video for our friends so they can laugh at us. No, we got much better examples of good shape. I'm a terrible example of I have to keep getting my body buffeted. I got to keep improving. So, I mean, if you're looking for an example of a guy that's kicking his own butt, yeah, then you could come look at me. But I mean, otherwise, you don't
Some
want
of-
to use me as an
Some
example.
of our regular listeners are
Oh,
disappointed because they were hoping I can twist your arm to produce a Peter Martinez Zumba Chumba.
Not my calling. However, if you want to come to a
But
camp, and ride
doesn't
a
the
horse
Bible
with
say?
me-
Doesn't the Bible say laughter maketh like a medicine? A merry heart
Right.
maketh like medicine. Well, maybe you'd make some folks happy and just little laughter in their life.
Oh, is that the goal?
I don't know what the goal. The goal is to bust your chops.
I was gonna say, if that's the goal, we can go about that a different way, you stinker. Yeah,
Man,
See,
that's the
this
goal.
is the New Yorker right here. This
Bust
is the
each
New
other's
Yorker right
chops.
here.
That's the
This
goal.
is the
That's
New
the goal.
Yorker right there.
Anyway,
Right
Peter and I,
there.
that's right. Peter and I have to have a business meeting or a talk, whatever you want to call it. So we love you
Tell them
guys. Thank you for your faithful listenership. It is greatly, greatly appreciated.